they evolved this document, this code, and they have indicated a willingness for each of their individual cities to adopt the FORA local procurement code as their city's policies. So what this means is that as FORA takes title to property from the Army and passes it through to local jurisdictions, that this policy will run with the title of the land. So that means that in the build-out period of 50 years, that there will be adequate and sustainable economic opportunities for the people addressed in this code for the next 50 years. So this isn't something that's going away immediately. And I think it's a long-term solution to what had previously been a devastating economic situation before the war closed. So now we're looking at the next 50 years and several hundreds of millions of dollars that can flow into the pockets of local contractors. Don't ever ask me a question, Tom. I'll give you a long answer every time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Working with Jones is something that out here just really started on this contract, as I said, about 6 or 7 months ago. We wanted to give 2 of our subcontractors the opportunity to talk to you. Both have somewhat similar circumstances, as sometimes when we get towards the end of that thing called a fiscal year, which in the federal government is the 30th of September. Now that's when everything hits the fan on that last day of the fiscal year. In this case, one of our presenters today was awarded a housing maintenance contract on the 29th of September. He mobilizes to maintain 400 housing units at Presidio of San Francisco. He mobilized, passed out flyers on the 30th, and started maintaining facilities on the 1st of October, which was the first day of the contract. Similarly, our other presenter was a janitorial contractor. He was handed about 2 days' notice to start. He recruited some of the members of the former contractor that had been working there, got them on his staff, and started performing work on all of the Oakland Army Depot facilities. So let me start out with the latter that I just mentioned, who's listed first here, and that's Mr. Ted Smith, the president of Smith Action Maintenance Company.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody stand up. Let me get in the... You guys remember I was here 42 days ago, and I mentioned this, and they got kind of carried away when I mentioned this, how you have to mobilize and be ready. But anyway, I made this program because I happened to be over at the diner, and Jay Jones happened to be walking by, and they said they needed someone to come over and talk to you guys, and I was sitting over the diner eating, and so here I am, I'm over here to talk to you guys. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Bill, who's the person that, actually I was the first black contractor that worked for BART. Had a contract there for 8 years. Working with Bill, he was in purchasing. Jim Ingram, another individual just left here, I've known Jim for 15 years. Paul Jan, you still back there, Paul? I was an 8A contractor for 12 years. That's where I first met Paul, and he also used to live in my hometown of Pinole. Harold, I don't know if he mentioned this to you guys or not, but when I first met Harold, he was with the Department of Labor. He was a contract compliance guy. They don't do that anymore, do they, Al? They still do? Okay. But I'm supposed, and congratulations to Jerry, 42 days ago, 42 days today. He was asking a lot of questions. I remember at the meeting, and you and the You see, there's a couple of, all of the ones that was at the meeting, and they all had doubts and suspicion, and this wasn't gonna happen, and how do I fit in, and what did they do with you, and this sort of thing. So it kind of makes me feel good to know that things can happen. Remember when you guys was asking me about J. Jones? I'd rather just want Jones to hear what we were talking about. They were asking me about Jones, and I said what I felt about Jones, how helpful that they had been to me. Mentioned a short time mobilization. Do you remember? You might have to mobilize in a hurry and be ready for that. I think I mentioned that also when I was here 42 days ago. That some of these things come down the pike and you have to mobilize in a hurry, and it takes some time to kind of shake things out, but it was just something to be prepared for. And basically, every job at one time kind of reverses its role. You go back to where you originally started. Actually, I've been doing work for the Navy, believe it or not, for 20 years. 20 years I've been doing something for the Navy. I started out as a contract street sweeper, then I started leasing them equipment, then I leased equipment to the Air Force. Every base within a 100-mile radius of the Bay Area, I was a guy that had done something there. Every base within a 100-mile radius. I either swept the streets there, I either leased them equipment, or I either did contract work there myself. And for Jones, to come back with Jones, who reminds me of a company that I first started in business with, believe it or not, a company that I first started in business with, a company called Stecco Development. And they did a lot of development in Fremont, Mountain View, Lafayette, Alamo. They did a lot of specialized and customized type development. And I never Jones, because this is really important. Sometimes this year, if not this year, at least the first of next year, the government is going to start utilizing. They got a deadline. You know, they're not going to have no more CBD and this and that. You're going to have to get on this in order to be competitive. I was an 8A contractor for 10 years. Even that game has changed. The jobs now are being competed. Actually, I was good for the 8A program. It kind of galls me at the guys that comes in now, because I hustled up more work for the 8A program that I could actually have myself. I hustled up. I can't tell you how many jobs within a 200-mile radius of people that had never thought about going 8A. A lot of them said that they wouldn't go 8A. Matter of fact, the largest contract I had in 8A program, I had to talk to a guy for 2 years on the telephone. I never met that guy yet, but I kept talking to him 2 years on the telephone, and I ended up getting a $16 million job. And I never met this guy personally. And I knew all about his family, his hometown. He's from Florida, and I never met him personally. You know, told me all about his kids. I mean, a lot of the tickets he buys, all of that. But he started out saying he wasn't going to do it. That's how he started out. He wasn't going to do it, and I wouldn't know the guy if he walked through the door today. And he'd always been helpful. He told me what kind of work my employees was doing, and he was the kind of